Hey guys, we are Katie and Jeremy Chitty. We have been married for about almost 5 years now, and we want to tell you a little bit about our journey with adoption.
So basically, Katie and I knew from the beginning that we wanted to have kids, but about a year after we were married, we were diagnosed. Basically, we were told we could never have kids biologically.
So the day that we got the phone call from our doctor saying there was absolutely zero chance that we would ever have a biological child, I actually received that phone call, and I had to basically break the news to Jeremy. And that was probably hands down the hardest thing, because you get married, you have babies, that's what you do, and it's really easy. So to know that we were not going to be able to ever experience something that was so natural and just happens to you, to know that I would never be pregnant, that I was never going to be able to surprise him with a pregnancy test or anything like that cute stuff that you hear everybody talk about, was seriously probably one of the darkest days of my life. Having to tell my husband, I will never carry your child, was just a sadness that we literally had never known before.
It was something that was just so heavy, but it was really almost within the same time frame. It was like we had been praying for over a year, Lord, we want children. And like I said before, we had talked about adoption, but we always talked about, once we have kids, we'll adopt. And so, but as devastating as it was almost like the night of sorrow. We woke up the next morning, we're still brokenhearted, we're still hurt, but it was just like, okay, well, Lord, the answer is adoption, so help us get our baby through adoption. Thankfully, we were surrounded by people, my parents, Pastor Corey, just people that have already been through the process. And, what you don't think about is this giant number that comes along with adoption. For us, it was like $42,000, and I just remember sitting down and doing the math one night after Katie had gone to bed, and it's just like, I can't do this. And I remember being so stubborn, thinking I'll never do a fundraiser. I'm not going to. And I even told Pastor Corey, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'll sell body parts. And if it weren't for the wisdom of people that we held close to us that have been through the process, I don't know that I would have ever been able to see how beneficial fundraising was for us, obviously, and it's more than just giving too.
I think adoption for us brought on a whole new meaning of it takes a village, because it literally took a village for us financially, emotionally, spiritually. We couldn't have done any of this by ourselves. We would never want to do any of this by ourselves. To see that people love you enough to say, hey, let us help you on your journey, or to see perfect strangers say, children are the most important thing in our lives. Like, let us help you see that. Let us help you feel that. Let us help you be a parent. Without the fundraising that we did, as humbling as that was, it was through that we were able to bring Jackson home. 7 months later, I'm sitting at work, and everything we had done with the adoption agency up to that point had all been by phone calls. We'll get a phone call if you're chosen. And we had presented to this birth mom who was due in a few months with a baby. And we had no phone call. And I just decided to check my email. And I get this email, and it's like, hey, birth mom has seen your profile book, and she really likes that Katie does this. She really likes that Jeremy does this. And she thinks you guys are great. And that was the email. And so I sent it to our adoption agency and was like, is this what I think it means? And I got a reply right away that says, you're gonna be a mama. Jumped in my car Immediately was calling Jeremy. He wasn't answering. Jeremy always answers his phone.
I just remember I looked at my phone and I was like, obviously she's been in a wreck. Obviously there's some kind of family emergency. And then I was almost irritated. I'm like, why are you calling me back to back to back? Like, so I answered the phone. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm obviously at a customer's house. You know, being a real nice husband.
And I screamed that we've been chosen. We're having a baby. A baby is coming. She picked us.
It was very surreal. Like, if, honest to God, if Dave Polk hadn't been in the car, I don't know that I would have even understood the situation. I don't think I would have actually thought that a birth mom had actually chosen us and we were gonna be parents. We found out that Jackson was due in September something, I can't remember the date, sometime in September. So us being the super productive people that we are, we were like, oh, we got 3 months to get ready. So we made a list, threw it away, made another list. Like, yeah, we'll do it next week. Next weekend, we'll do this list. So we're all sitting there eating dinner. Katie gets a phone call, walks out, comes back in. And basically she was just like, so Jackson's coming today. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, the birth mom's going into labor now. And it's July. And I'm like, what? So the only thing I could think was, I haven't done anything on our list. And I was just thinking, there's no way this is real. Like, babies don't come 3 months early.
So as we're driving down the road, we're laughing, we're crying, it's complete silence. And all of a sudden, I look down at my phone and I have a text message of a picture of this little blonde-haired baby. And that picture will forever be sacred to me because we didn't get to see an ultrasound picture of Jackson. We didn't get to see any doctor's appointments like that. So that was our first view of our son.
I remember they let us in. We had to scrub in because Jackson was, he was in the NICU. And I'll never forget the very first time we saw him, he was behind the incubator. So we couldn't actually touch him. We had to wear these gloves, we had to wear these gowns. But I'll never forget reaching my hands in and just being able to put my hand, well, really just one hand, but I remember putting my hand and having his head just sit in my hand. And it was almost like a flash of everything that we had gone through. It was just like, all I could think was, God, I would do it all over again. You know, sitting here looking at this little 4-pound baby, you know, his blonde hair, blue eyes that I prayed for, that everybody still thinks funny because there's no blonde hair, blue eyed babies in my family. But it was just, honest to God, it was just, all I could think was, this is my son, and how does the Lord love me this much that I get to have this little baby boy in my hands.
And the crazy thing is, with him being 2 months early, we had planned out 2 more months of fundraising. So when we got the call that he was being born, we did not have the funds that we needed. And the broken part of adoption is that is a must. And literally our friends and our family and our church rallied around us and said, what can we do?
So after the adoption was final, you know, obviously we were celebrating being parents. You know, it was all just seemed surreal. But Jackson being so early, he was in the NICU for 29 days. And I'll never forget, we got him into we were actually sleeping in the hospital. We got him into our hospital room, and I'll never forget, I got to lay in the bed and just have him falling asleep on my chest. And it was just, even though we were still in the hospital, I was like, well, this is home. The thing is everybody that's called to adoption is willing to give the ultimate sacrifice to have their baby come home. But to me, it was like the littlest gifts it's not little, even financially. It was just like, it was like people believed in us. So I guess what I'm saying is there is no gift that's too small, and it'll never go unappreciated. And it's something that when Jackson gets older, I'll be able to say, you're my baby, and you're your mom's baby, but everybody loved you before you even came, and they came together as a group and helped get you into our arms. And that's something that I'll never be able to forget, and I'll forever be thankful for.